This is my tutorial on digital portrait painting. It's in a similar style as my landscape start to finish video. I deliberately selected a photograph where the white balance was totally blown out. I wanted to cover how to paint a portrait that had very little contrast. This might not go so well because, comparatively speaking, it's easier for me at least to paint something with large areas of contrast. It makes it a lot easier to judge values. I've seen portrait demos both live and video format where they've chosen dramatic lighting because it makes for a more interesting portrait. It makes sense that you want your portrait to be more flattering or more dramatic depending on the type of mood you want your painting to convey. So I chose deer in the headlights with a washed out ghostly complexion, but there is a reason for it. This is one of those things I did when I was younger. My peers all had very dramatic, dynamic lighting in their portraits. My portraits look like passport photos. So why would this be helpful? Because having learned how to handle subtle variations of color and value from start, I feel I got the difficult part out of the way. This was my experience, but your mileage may vary. I don't even know if that was a correct analogy, but anyway, so this is how I start. I'll put down a base color, and this will look darker due to the white background, but on the color wheel I've chosen a fairly middle of the road value for a middle of the road shade of brown. Instead of using a grisaille to paint in values to get a sense of shape, I usually will start painting colors that I see in the photo that are close to the value of my base color. From there, I'll paint colors I happen to see in other areas of the face. Right now, I've entered the ugly phase, and I won't be out of it for a while. But putting in the colors now helps define the features of the face. Just having them in approximately the correct place early on helps me put in the more subtle grays, blue grays, green grays that will show the more recessed or receding areas of the face. Since I'm working with a narrow range of values, I'll work up from the base color value to the lightest color values gradually. It helps me stay within that limited range. It eliminates the danger of me just selecting a too light value of color, and if I don't notice it until much later, then I wind up having to totally rework the painting or start over again. When I paint like this, I'm often asked if I have a formula for skin color. The simple answer is I don't. I paint the colors I see in a photo or a face. This could be brown, orange, red, pink, gray, blue gray, green gray, violet, magenta, yellow, black, or white. So even the most contrasting of colors, red, for example, red and green, those colors become more harmonious. They play better together when they're less saturated. And that's how I handle skin color. Because I never liked using multiple shades of only one color, the ubiquitous flesh color, it always looked flat and lifeless to me no matter how much contrast there was. So that is the main purpose of this video, to show how to get shape and form without the use of with the use of various colors and a limited range of values when you have to, rather than the use of the generic flesh color and a wide range of values. Let's see, about this time I'll start painting in the darkest colors, those values that make up the smallest percentage of the value range I'm working in. It's also the fun part because you get to see if the painting, well, you get to see the painting come to life, especially the eyes. This is usually the part where I can see if I've really captured the likeness. Once the eyes are in, I can start working the hollows around the eyes and defining the bridge and the nose to show the depth of those features using various values, colors of gray. And when I get to it, the nose and the mouth get the same treatment. But due to the nature of an overexposed photograph, the changes in color value are even more subtle for these features since they protrude from the face. You know, being closer to the light source and overexposed decreases the depth of the feature and erases detail. So the use of color can bring more attention and make it stand out, whereas a change in value might look out of place or bring an unwanted amount of attention to that feature, detracting from the rest of the painting. So while I can't just apply a change in value wherever I want, it has to make sense over the whole portrait. Whereas a shift in hue or color is more forgiving. It might give you that amount of definition needed without being jarring visually. Since people have a myriad number of biological reasons why we would have all these different colors in our complexion. For example, medical conditions or emotional reactions. We're used to seeing the odd, out of place color and then just ignore it. But having an out of place value, even if you don't notice it at first, it often surfaces as a feeling that something's not quite right, like a shadow that falls in the wrong direction. That's a rather glaring example, but you get the idea. But these are the ideas I keep in mind while painting. I'll be back when I get to the hair. we've made it to the hair. I started the same way as I did with the skin. I put down the medium color first, filling in the mass of the hair. I also paint hair in clumps in the direction it's flowing. If it's an S shape, I paint an S. It doesn't have to be perfect. This first part is just painting in big masses that flow in the right general direction. No detail. Putting color down where I see it without blending, and then working up to the highlight values. I'm also painting the occasional stray hair, or a lot of them if I'm dealing with really big hair. Then I'll go and work the silhouette, getting rid of any hard edges, and then more stray hairs. And I'll run a few light or dark hairs along the contour lines in the body of the hair. Lastly, I'll work the edges or transitions between colors, making it softer in some areas or giving it a harder edge in others, but I'll leave most of it alone. It's way too easy to overwork it. Okay, that's how I do it. It's pretty much the same approach as the landscape painting, except for the sketch. I want to try to get as accurate a sketch as possible to eliminate as many corrections as I can. If you're interested in the sketch portion, I have a video, how to draw a likeness, that covers that. I'll leave a link below for that. Alright, thank you for watching. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you next time.